Yeah. Hello, everybody. Hello. Welcome to the weekly Spinner Rack. I am your host, Chris. We are live. Let me check the chat room here. Looks like I'm the first one here. I'm going to just tweet out that we are live. I like to just hit social media up. But yeah, this is going to be a really fun one, folks. We've got some good stuff to review. I'm going to draw something. We've got a lot of news of the week to talk about. So it's going to be a very fun show. That's for darn sure. Let's see here. All right, we got people starting to pop in. We've got Master Shake says hello from Kansas City. Hello from the United States of America. Hello, Jeff. Hello, Michael. Hello, King Turtle. Capono. All right. Look at all these folks jumping in. That's wonderful. That is awesome. I'm just quickly posting to social media that we are live. And let's get this show on the road. Grateful to have some folks here in the audience. Thank you so much for joining me. Let's see. Oh, there's my sister. Hello, Jean. Hello, Daniel. Hello, A-Man. Gene Hodges, Dave Wright, Daryl Grant. Hello, all. You all get a shout out. Hello, Joe Dent. I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, Joe, you're from England. So we got people from all over jumping in now. That's awesome. Hello, Jim. Jim Mahfood. Hey, gang. Chris dug that Bill Mantlo vid. Nicely done. Jim, thank you so much. And folks, if you're not checking it out, Jim's a great guy. His book, Girl Scouts Stone Ghost, from Image Comics, out in stores now. Issue 2 is already out. Issue 3 is just about to come out. Oh, thank you, Michael. Also commenting on the Bill Mantlo video. That was a tricky line. Let me talk about that real quick since it's being discussed in chat before I sort of get into the show proper. A tricky line for me to navigate in that I wanted to be even-handed about covering an entire career. And personally, I do like Bill Mantlo's work, okay? I like what he's created. I think he created fun comics. Not always the deepest, but also not necessarily like throwaway. I just, I think I talked about it in the episode. Not necessarily the deepest plots, but good characterization. So it was fun to read. And yet, he had accusations of stealing plots. I wanted to address that. And you kind of need to talk about what happened to him physically, which is a tragic sort of end to the story I'm trying to tell about this man's career. Very tricky to navigate that without getting too negative, depressing, just things that people would want to tune right out for. So anyway. Look at this. Let's get this show on the road, says my good friend Hoodie Coco. Hello, Rich, recent patron. Well, thank you. Always appreciate that. Super appreciate. You make this happen. Andrew Jefferson is there. Let's see. Nexion. Caveman. Awesome. Lovely. So grateful to have people here. We'll tell you what, there's a bunch of news to talk about. I've got something I want to draw today. I'm going to sort of try a weird interpretation of Moon Knight. But let's start, as always, with me doing some quick reviews of the comics that I've read this week. First thing I'll start out with here, a little bit of a minor event type of idea from Marvel. It's called X Lives of Wolverine. I just like the premise. I also like this Adam Kubert cover. I don't understand the exact logic of why this is happening now or anything, but Wolverine's mind is being sent back to himself in the past, and in this issue, that's specifically to prevent the also mentally time-traveling Omega Red from killing Charles Xavier at different points in his past. Okay, cool. Wolverine's lived a long time. As you can see on this, there's all sorts of versions. There's, the original version we saw in the Hulk. When the ongoing series started with him back in, the late 80s, he was Patch. He's been in, various international wars. He's been a spy. He's been a cowboy, Weapon X, X-Men. All sorts of different roles that he's had over the years that, you could slot in, and now he can have adventures, but with today's wisdom, we'll say, and experience, stuff like that. Hello also to Alex Super Pickle, I think, and Riv Wilson. The event, Andrew says, my guess is the logic behind the event is money. Fair enough. It doesn't matter. It's a big plot. It's a fun idea to see Wolverine in the past. And so, yeah, the person he's protecting is Charles Xavier. This artwork is really cool. It's nicely detailed. I'm not super familiar with the artist, Joshua Cassara. I haven't read anything by him before, to the best of my knowledge, but it looks cool. It's a fun book. It's going to be some sort of a limited series, so we're going to see Wolverine in all sorts of highlights from his past. By the way, I'm looking forward to this big time. I loved the X-Force/X-Statix run by Peter Milligan and Mike Allred. I thought that was a funny and original take on mutants, the idea of them as really shallow celebrities. Oh man, I can't wait to see them come back and what they do. That'll be awesome. So, that gets a recommend. Moving forward, another Marvel comic. Picked up the latest issue of Venom. I'll be honest, I'm mostly getting this because I do like Brian Hitch's artwork. The story's moving a little bit slowly, but maybe that's just because after reading some recent stuff by Ram V this year, like The Many Deaths of Layla Starr and his current amazing work on... he also did some great stuff on Swamp Thing is what I'm thinking. I'm sort of expecting more out of it. So it's moving a little slowly, but whatever. It's cool artwork. I'm not going to go too far into detail. It's focused primarily on Eddie Brock's son, who is currently hosting the Venom symbiote. Whatever. Okay. Monsters, It looks pretty. That's good enough sometimes. Adam Messenger says, rumor has it that if you hit the thumbs up button on this video, good karma will come your way. I have it on good authority that is the truth. All right, now I'm excited. This is my pick of the week, folks. Many years ago, I had the pleasure of meeting writer and artist Jeremy Bastian at a convention, and he'd put out the first 3 issues of his comic Cursed Pirate Girl. This is the 5th issue that just came out. However, because it's been so slow to come out, there is quite a bit of recap that will bring you up to speed. This is a very special book. First of all, the camera is not going to do it justice for just how intricately detailed this artwork is. Suffice it to say, every page is really a masterpiece along the lines of a well-rendered painting by somebody like Hieronymus Bosch or something like that, except, it's still a comic book. Instead of hard panels, the artwork itself becomes panels to help divide up the action and guide you through. Reading the lettering will often guide you through chronologically in this. Yeah, the price point maybe is high, but all I can say is, first of all, it's a pretty thick book. The artwork is incredible. It's incredible. You've really never come across anything quite like this in a comic book. Not quite. But on top of that, the story is utterly charming. The closest I can compare it to would be something like either Alice in Wonderland or The Wizard of Oz. And if as a kid you ever saw one of those movies or had the book read to you, you were probably captivated by this just ethereal other world. And that's what's going on here. This orphan, the cursed pirate girl, goes on an adventure under the sea to find her father, who she believes was a great pirate leader. And she goes up against all sorts of undersea creatures and supernatural enemies. Look at this. In the middle here, we have a double-page gatefold that spreads out. And the story just weaves its way all the way through in a very different pattern than what you might be used to, but it is not hard to follow. The story is just so charming. While you can jump in and understand this story, understand this. You are not going to blast through this comic the same way you're going to blast through something like Venom, okay? Like, this is a quick read if you read Venom or even the Wolverine, etc. To enjoy this properly, set aside some time and pore over each illustration. Read it carefully. Slow down. Go at a slower pace than you're used to, and I promise you'll get something out of this. This is really, really special. A book like this does not come out every week or even every month. It's really, really charming. It is something that would be age appropriate for all readers, but I think, as an adult, I definitely appreciate it. And the allusions that he creates in the artwork to sort of turn-of-the-century artists is just incredible. I really wish I had, a super well-definition camera to give you a sense of how intricate this line work is. I mean, you look at this and you're like, well, this has to take a year to draw something like this. I don't know. It's amazing. It really is special. The last time I think I got this excited on a live stream reviewing something was coming across Nightwing 87 by Taylor and Bruno Redondo, because Bruno Redondo had created every page to be a single image that just goes from the first page to the last. It all would line up. You could have 22 pages just spread out in a line with the character moving across the background. And I'd never really seen anything that ambitious. This is similarly ambitious. So, the story is going to be like Alice in Wonderland or Wizard of Oz. So yourself, is that something you can get in the mindset to enjoy, or are you just looking for, a new Superman book? Maybe this isn't for you. But if you think that you could enjoy anything like this, it really is something special. And there's more to come, but it is $10. Boom Studios is publishing this through their, I never know how to pronounce this, Archaea, I think. Anyway, $10, not cheap. At the same time, this isn't going to be a 60-issue series where you're paying $10 each, It's called Cursed Pirate Girl. Specifically, since it's been a while since the last issue came out, they don't just say Cursed Pirate Girl number 4. It's called Cursed Pirate Girl, The Devil's Cave. But the other issues are out there. The first 3 are available in a book. You can get the first 3 all in one book, and the 4th issue, not the hardest thing in the world to find. I'm sure you could find it even on Amazon, let alone a comic book store. So, pick of the week. That's all I got to say. Really, really interesting book. Even if you weren't into the story, though, I sincerely think that this is the kind of book where you could sit down and look at the artwork and appreciate that for its own thing. It's a comic book, but it really is art. I think I've been excited about this since I came across it. And I look back and I feel so grateful that I got to meet the creator, Jeremy Bastian, and sort of talk to him before I'd even read the book. He sold me on it. It was a smaller convention that I saw him at. Anyway, moving on. Just three more books to quickly talk about. I said I wasn't going to pick up any more issues of the Hulk because it strikes me as kind of weirdly dumb, this Cates Ottley version. But I do like Ryan Ottley's work, and usually I like Donny Cates, so I gave it one more try. Not that I'm super into this. Bruce Banner basically pilots the Hulk, mentally. He's piloting it like a starship, and he has the main Hulk personality in this imaginary world where he'll throw threats at him, and the angrier he gets, the more that will fuel this body. So, very weird, right? He's gone into this other dimension, bumped into another version of himself, a Bruce Banner, that's going up against the President of the United States, who is a small spoiler, but it really just will either get you into the book or it won't. It's not that big a deal. Thunderbolt Ross, one of Hulk's oldest enemies. He's the president in this alternate universe. Why is this possibly going to be a big deal? It actually is going for more than cover price already on the speculator market, on eBay and stuff like that. I'm trying to find the pages that refer to this. There's a new Hulk personality introduced, basically. The Hulk here, in his sort of fictional world where he's just has enemies thrown at him and everything, there's no lines, there's not even a clear view of him, but this is the Black Hulk. What have we had? We've had Gray Hulk, Green Hulk, Savage Hulk, Professor Hulk, Devil Hulk, we've had Joe Fixit, we've had Red Hulk, we have Black Hulk. Who knows what it is? I don't know. People are interested. It's fine. Let's see. Gantris is working on another chapter of his book. Awesome. Snake Eater says $10 for Cursed Pirate Girl is a steal. And Master Shake says getting Little Nemo in Slumberland vibes. Definitely. Little Nemo in Slumberland, great influence. But let me just say, first of all, Jerf E. Petron sent a super chat. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm trying to create a lot of content on this channel as well as the other one, Comic Tropes. And I'm trying to see if I can get to a point where I can do that as a career that I can rely on. That would be exciting. You guys are helping me move in that direction. Thank you. Sincerely, thank you. Last new comic I read this week. I love crime comics. I make no bones about the fact I'm biased towards liking Rick Remender's stuff. I've known him for a long time. And this is an interesting book that I'm not quite sure where it's going, which does interest me in a sense. It has to do with assassins that get jobs on the dark web. And this particular guy that's like caught up in trying right now to protect a lady that's targeted for assassination. And I really can't tell whether he is a former assassin or impersonating one. I don't know yet. There's a lot of mystery involved in this. But the artwork is good. It's very cinematic in quality. This feels like something ready for an adaptation, for good or for bad. That's the vibe I get. I mean, when I look at the main character, this guy, you can't tell me that doesn't look like Benedict Wong, who plays Wong in Doctor Strange, if you're not familiar with him. And I feel like that has to be intentional. Benedict Wong played a teacher on the live-action adaptation of Rick Remender's book, Deadly Class. So I feel like it's possible that he's writing it for that guy. Whether it becomes adapted or not, who knows? But I feel like... I haven't talked to Rick about that, but I feel like he just has to have been doing that. It's good. If you're into crime comics, pick it up. People are saying Diet Hulk, heavily caffeinated Hulk, White Gandalf Hulk. I'm not interested in this run of the Hulk. I don't blame you. It's pretty weird. It's pretty weird. Someone let Jim Rugg know that he needs to include Black Hulk in Grand Design. Yeah, Jim Rugg, one half of Cartoonist Kayfabe, has a book coming out, and I think it's April, called Hulk Grand Design. It's going to like sort of summarize, like sort of get the highlights of the entire run of the Hulk and tell it all at once. I have to admit, I saw a funny joke about that on Twitter this week. Evan Dorkin is a hilarious cartoonist. Really, really talented guy. He's also pretty funny on Twitter. And someone asked him about like the Grand Design books, and he says, I'm not too into those book report comics. And I have to say, it's a burn, but it's pretty damn funny. I hope that Jim and Ed would find that funny too, because the idea of calling them book report comics was pretty damn funny. Last thing I only got one back issue. I go for weird things that strike my fancy if I find them at a good deal. John Byrne's run on the Fantastic Four. You could tell he was really passionate about this, and he put in his maximum effort. I loved John Byrne a lot when I was younger. I'm not as big a fan as I got older. I see some of the flaws in his artwork, which I know sounds weird because he is a very good artist. But I do still like his work. And this is a cool story for a couple reasons. It's issue 236, not a special number, but it was the 20th anniversary of the Fantastic Four coming out. So this represents that. And the Fantastic Four are all sort of having memories of getting superpowers, like dreams, I should say, but they don't seem to have superpowers. Reed Richards figures it out, and basically Yeah, see, look at that great 2-page splash. They're looking up, and that literally is Doctor Doom, and his plan is pretty cool. He's captured all of the Fantastic Four and put their minds in tiny little bodies in a tiny little town that he has complete control over, just to show how powerful he is. You know, a smart guy might just kill his enemies, but he's tormenting them by, like, you know, running their whole lives in this town that they can't escape. And that's a cool little premise. It goes in some interesting directions. And what's also cool is at the very end here, you get an original story by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby to commemorate the 20th anniversary of their creation. I believe this is 1981. That's kind of cool that Kirby and it was like, yeah, I want to celebrate my creation. What they've done is they based this on the cartoon that had come out years ago, as in, instead of Human Torch, there's Herbie the Robot. And each of these pages is inked by a different famous inker of Jack Kirby. We've got, like, I believe, Chick Stone. This might be Al Milgrom. I don't think so, actually. I think this is Al Milgrom. Joe Sinnott, who does a fantastic job. That's probably the best looking overall page there. Some other guys that I'm just, like, forgetting now, but, you know, like Frank Yakoya. This has got to be Vince Colletta, because look, all of these pages have backgrounds, right? Until this page, and all of a sudden the backgrounds all disappear. To me, that says that this page was Vince Colletta. So lots of different styles inking Jack Kirby. Kind of fun. And it's, you know, a new story that we hadn't gotten before. So for, like, a really good price, you can actually get, like, the last Fantastic Four that Stan and Jack teamed up to do. Just sort of a nice little novelty. All right. That's the plot of Black Hammer. Yeah, well, everything comes from somewhere, right? So, let's see. I got a question here. Did you manage to read the new She-Hulk book yet? I didn't pick that up. Is it good? I do like She-Hulk as a character, and she's had some really great runs. I liked John Byrne's run. I liked... that was, by the way, the last... That was the... She-Hulk, her original title, was the last new comic that Stan Lee wrote until the 90s when he did Ravage 2099. But it's... So, one of the last new characters that he created for Marvel. Kind of cool. And I like the Dan Slott run on She-Hulk, where she mostly is a lawyer. It's funny, and it's cool. So, we've got Moon Knight, the Disney Plus live-action series coming out. I decided to draw Moon Knight, but I couldn't quite decide if I wanted to draw... Well, which version? Because he's had a lot of different costumes. He's got, like, you know, dissociative identity disorder. So I'm trying to draw this straight down the line, show two versions that were created in the, I believe it was written by Warren Ellis and illustrated by Declan Shalvey. Mr. Knight just wears a complete white suit and is, like, you know, a detective. And then this, like, Moon Knight that wears all sorts of weird Egyptian shamanic armor. So let's start inking that. And I'm also going to open up my little app here so that we can talk about the news of the week. Because, trust me, there is plenty of comic book news of the week to discuss. Let me see what I've got listed here first. I think about 2 weeks ago, I first brought this up. There was a rumor that IDW was potentially going to be losing the license to produce G.I. Joe and Transformers comics. Well, this week that was confirmed. They have... Well, Hasbro isn't going to renew the license. So they've got it through the end of this year, and then a new publisher will take over. That part hasn't been announced yet. The rumor is Robert Kirkman's company, Skybound, is in the running and lobbying heavily to get it. And I won't be surprised if that happens. But so far, who's taking it over next has not been announced. It's big news in the sense that definitely is a big property for IDW. At this point, you know, what are some of the big things they have left? Ninja Turtles. Ninja Turtles is still a really big title that they've got. But I don't know exactly what else they have, because they do a bunch of licensed stuff, and that was definitely a big one to not have anymore. I will be curious to see where that ends up. I have to admit, I haven't read Transformers since I was a little kid, but I do read G.I. Joe. I've always been a big fan of writer Larry Hama. I believe to me, he is G.I. Joe. To me, he's created everything that's significant to me about G.I. Joe, which is the characterizations. The looks are also important. I'm not discounting that, but I'm saying to me, the overall important thing are the characterizations of G.I. Joe, and he created basically all of that. So I just personally do hope that if this goes to, another publisher and Mr. Hama wants to continue writing G.I. Joe, I hope that they allow him to continue writing his continuity, because at IDW, he's continued the continuity that he started originally in Marvel Comics back in 1981 or 1982 was when the comics started. It's a really interesting continuity with some really deep characters and some big twists and turns. And it's been even better ever since he hasn't had to have any obligation to push in new characters and toys, essentially. So it's a book I really like, and as long as he wants to continue it, I hope he's able to. If they want to create other continuities as well, have at it, Hoss. I think that G.I. Joe and Transformers could definitely deal with some new blood, a new perspective. That would be nice. But I do hope that Larry Hama gets to continue what he's doing if he wants to. And I hope he wants to. Because he's he's about to come up this year. He'll come up on 300 issues of G.I. Joe. And to be fair, there's maybe 3 of those that he didn't write in the Marvel run. But basically, he'll have come up with... that's a long run. That's there was a break in the middle, but still, that's an incredibly long run. 300 issues? It's amazing. I don't want it to end if he doesn't want it to end. So, and then Transformers could definitely deal with, some new ideas, I'm sure. It always can. But I'm a little, as I got older, I came back to G.I. Joe out of nostalgia, and my love for it just kind of grew. IDW also has Lock and Key. Good point, Steve. However, that's not ongoing anymore. At this point, it's just the occasional special. That is a good point, though. That is a good point. Yep, Bill Mantlo worked on the first 2 issues of Transformers. That's true. Yep. What do I haven't read Jed McKay's Moon Knight Doctor Doom. Sorry, I haven't read it. But so that's definitely big news for the publisher, because what does that mean for IDW? That's a big license to not have anymore. I'll be following any news out of that company very closely to see, what happens. Are people jumping ship or what? I wonder what is the longest run on a comic book. Well, it depends on whether you're talking most issues by a creator, most issues just overall, etc. But I can tell you some of the biggest ones. Look, first of all, Cerebus by Dave Sim. He wrote and illustrated all 300 issues. Okay, that's huge. Spawn has had more issues than that at this point. And Todd McFarlane has been involved since the beginning, but he hasn't written and illustrated every issue. He did mostly inking and then writing. So he's been involved, but he hasn't done every single issue himself like Dave Sim did on Cerebus, to be fair. Savage Dragon by Eric Larson's way up there. But then if you go over and look at Japanese comics, something like One Piece has been going on much longer, way more issues. Golgo 13 was also a manga that the original creator was on for a really, really long time. If you look at like comic strips, things like Popeye by E.C. Segar was really, really long. So yeah, there have been a lot of other books that have gone longer, for whatever that's worth. But anyway, I haven't read The Strange Death of Alex Raymond. I would be interested in reading about that, but I haven't read it yet. Bendis and Bagley have the record for most consecutive issues by the same writer and artist. That's true. By the same combo team, their run on Ultimate Spider-Man. They outdid Jack Kirby and Stan Lee, who did like a notch over 100 issues of Fantastic Four. Really long run, but has been outdone. Anyway, it's an interesting topic. Like, could be a sort of its own topic, just talking about epic long runs by different creative teams. In my mind, the one to beat is still Cerebus, because Dave Sim worked on every issue. And he did have an assistant drawing backgrounds at a certain point, but he still drew Cerebus and all the main characters, and like did that for a really, really long time. Oh, 20 plus years and still going strong. One Piece is, yeah. Good one, JoJo. Let's see. When you say Savage Dragon, I'm just reminded of the heavily censored Comic Pop intro to their Slugfest video. I guess I don't know what that is. Sorry. What do you think about Dan Slott's run on Spider-Man? Possibly controversial, I guess, because I thought that it was great. I especially loved Superior Spider-Man. I liked that a lot. I also liked the Spider-Verse storyline. I liked that a lot. So yeah, I liked his work. I thought that he took the character in some really interesting, fun, and different directions. And at the end of the day, put all the toys back in the toy box, so that like whoever wanted to pick it up next had that available. So, short story, I liked it. I'd love to make an episode about it someday. It was a really long run. He added a lot to the character. Do you have a favorite Moon Knight story run? I talk about it in the episode that I do about Moon Knight, where I collaborated with Godzilla Mendoza, so you can watch that. But overall, like, some of my favorite runs were like the one with, the one where, who's it, Smallwood was the artist, the one where Declan Shalvey was the artist, and then the original with Bill Sienkiewicz. Water. That water stuff is good. I think it's going to take off too. I'm serious. Not everybody believes me, but I think water, it's here to stay. I think a lot of people are going to get into it. As time goes on, you're going to find a lot of people drinking water. You heard it here first, folks. I thought I had a smaller... Oh, there it is. I was looking for this pen. Let me see what else I've got for news, though. I've got a bunch of news topics. Oh, this one was just sort of a weird one that I saw just today. I don't know what to make of it, but for some reason, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was trending on Twitter. And I'm like, well, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. ended a while ago. Why is that trending? And I guess there's sort of a campaign from people to bring Daisy Johnson, Quake, back into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That's what people want. Okay. I agree she was very good for the show. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more so that you can see some more detail on what I'm doing. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was okay for what it was, you know, like a network TV show version of the MCU that then ultimately was sort of ignored and forgotten. When it started, it was definitely in the MCU. You know, they got Nick Fury in there, they had Sif, they had Maria Hill. And then as it went on, it became clear that it wasn't really considered part of the MCU anymore, that it was sort of its own continuity, especially in its final season where all of a sudden, like, what they were doing contradicted the MCU, because they didn't, I don't think they got told that there was going to be that 5-year jump from the snap. And even if they did get told, I don't know how they'd possibly really get around it. But it was okay for its time. I thought it was a good cast, and I really do like the character of Phil Coulson, so it's a shame not to have him. Oh, here's another piece of news. I was kind of excited about this. It sort of relates to some of the stuff we were just talking about. There is a new creative team coming on to Amazing Spider-Man and brings back fan favorite artist on the character, John Romita Jr. Let me clarify that, because today is the birthday of John Romita Sr., so shout out to John Romita Sr., Jazzy John, as they'd call him in the credits. I like John Romita Jr. a lot. I guess not always. There are times where I guess I feel like his artwork has been rushed, but by and large, I really like John Romita Jr. I came up at the right time, you know, like I could look back at stuff that he'd done on like X-Men or Spider-Man back in the day, but the stuff that was kind of new to me at the time was some of his strongest work, like Man Without Fear, the Daredevil limited series that was written by Frank Miller, but illustrated by him. That's some of his strongest artwork out there in his entire career, still to this day. And then he had a run where he was illustrating both Amazing Spider-Man and Thor at the same time, 2 monthly books. I really don't know how he did that. But I thought that his Spider-Man at the time looked really fantastic. He'd really come into his own with his style and stuff. And yeah, I just really, really liked how Spider-Man looked in those days. And so I'm excited to see him come back. I think that Spider-Man's a really good fit for him. I think a lot of the street-level Marvel characters are where he excels. I think, Daredevil, Spider-Man, Punisher, like, those are the things that, like, I think he does best at. That's just my 2 cents. But I'm excited for that. And the writer will be Zeb Wells, who is a pretty good guy at like coming up with funny dialogue. I just use this real quick. Which is good because Spider-Man needs to have good quips sometimes. So who knows? I'm excited to see where those guys take it. I really am. And I don't always get excited about new creative teams on mainstream superheroes these days, but that one does interest me. I think it could be good. Curious to see if anybody else is excited about it, or if I'm just, eating nostalgia food there, like wanting that. I don't know. Let me see what is going on in the chat room. Sorry. You got to watch the Cartoonist Kayfabe Shoot interview with JR Jr. He talks about a lot of the stuff you mentioned. I have it saved to watch. I do have it saved to watch. Boy, do I get jealous of the guys that they get for their interviews. They're amazing. Never could get into JR Jr. I prefer John Romita Sr. over JR Jr. Hello, Daniel, by the way. Hello, Daniel. His early to mid-2000s work was so boxy. I like it. I think it's a cool style. Good night, Tom Teacher. Thanks for dropping in. Did you hear about the Death of Justice League story? I'll be talking about it. I'll be talking about it, Andrew. I've got all the comic topics. You want the comics news of the week distilled? You can always drop in on this show, and I am going to lay all of that on you. Let me just get some minor details worked out here. Yeah. All right. Well, I guess that's actually all I got to say about that topic. So let me move on to the next topic. I really wish I had a producer here to, like, do like sound effects and stuff like that. Here's another comic book piece of news. It's all comic book pieces of news. What am I talking about? The Arrowverse on the CW will be having its first comic book event, as in the people that write and produce the shows are doing a 6-issue miniseries crossover event that explicitly takes place within the show's continuity. So stuff that happens in the comic books will probably at some point be referenced on some of their TV shows. So it's going to be a 3-month-long event starting in April, 6 issues, like I say, one for basically each show, plus 1 issue at the end will be a crossover with all of the characters. And let me pause there just to acknowledge this. Michael DeFonte, thank you so much for that super chat. It means everything to me. Says, I love John Romita Jr.'s work. His Daredevil run with Nocenti I found great. He is a funny and energetic guy also. Yeah, that run with Ann Nocenti, I mean, she was writing stuff all over the place, stuff that you would never see. Daredevil against Mephisto, Daredevil against Ultron, Daredevil teams up with some street kid skateboarders, all sorts of weird stuff. She was just like throwing all sorts of weird ideas at the wall, but it was an interesting run. And I agree, his artwork on that was incredible. Like, really, really, really good. Better than it had any right to be. Loved it. Loved it. What was I saying? I was talking about the Arrowverse crossover. That's right. So we'll see. I haven't really watched the Arrowverse shows in a couple years at this point. I've heard that the 2 that are still good are the Superman and Lois show I hear good things about, and I hear good things still about Legends of Tomorrow. I have to admit, I've got right up through the last season of Arrow, and that was like a little bit of a slog, except for their fun crossover episodes. Those were always a blast. So maybe this will be a fun crossover thing. And, you can like have whoever you want on the show without like worrying about cast availability and stuff when you do it as a comic. So that's cool. It's interesting that it's still going. I mean, talk about a big interconnected universe. They've definitely rolled in a lot of characters over the years. Ones that you wouldn't even expect. Like, I never expected Vixen or Mr. Terrific to be big, important characters on a TV show. Although I will say that the TV show that I'm really enjoying right now is Peacemaker. That's so good. It's funny, it's action-packed, it's filthy, and who cares what they do with a character like Peacemaker, in my opinion. That I don't think that he ever really had any interesting comics. I'm just putting it out there, like, not the Charlton stuff anyway. So do whatever you want with that character. It doesn't bother me. And I like what they're doing with him. Yeah, I really like that show quite a bit. Yeah, Vigilante's hilarious on it. I was kind of surprised they didn't do that crossover stuff for Arrowverse Crisis. I think they did as much as they could for the Crisis on Infinite Earths. I think that was a pretty decent 5-parter, because it's a CW show. That does not have a huge budget. They were very ambitious with what they did there. They were very ambitious. Anyway, so that's coming out in April. What do I think of Mark Gruenwald's Captain America run? I would say it's probably my, I think I want to say like my 3rd favorite run, maybe my 2nd. My 1st has become Brubaker's. Really love that one. And then the original Jack Kirby stuff is really important to me and pretty interesting too. But Mark Gruenwald, I loved him. Let me acknowledge this super chat. Steve, thank you so much, Steve. You're so generous. Hey, man, just want to, thanks for having this show. You're welcome. Thank you for being here. Just want to give you a high five over the internet. That's all. Reading original Marvel Star Wars and enjoying it. Original Marvel Star Wars is bonkers. Yeah, I made 2 episodes about how bonkers that is. The one about like Princess Leia and Darth Vader going to a banking planet to fight over a loan, and the one about Han Solo trying to pay his debts, and Boba Fett climbs out of the Sarlacc pit, gets amnesia, thinks that he's friends with Han Solo, then remembers at the last minute that he hates Han Solo just before he falls back into the Sarlacc pit, all within 1 issue. Yeah. Look at that. Callisto points this out. Batmite is now canon. Finally, the DCEU is awesome. On Peacemaker, he's referred to meeting Matter Eater Lad. People have referred to Batmite existing. They're adding some really cool stuff to the DCEU. Here's something for people on the East Coast that could potentially be interesting. In New York, there's a museum. It's called the Schomburg Center for Research in Black Culture. That's in Harlem. They are having a show. It's an exhibit focused on the history of black creators in comics. I think that sounds really interesting. If I still lived in that area, I'd definitely go to that, see what that's about. I've made an episode or 2 about some important black creators because I think sometimes it's easy for some of those voices to get overlooked, their contributions. But anyway, sounds like an interesting exhibit. The Schomburg Center in Harlem. So if for some reason you live in that area, might be something you want to check out. Matter Eater Lad is officially on 21st Century Earth. Well, or maybe he time traveled. Who knows, you know? Since Judo Master was on it, I'm rooting to see the other Charlton characters get realized in the DCU. Yeah, who else have we got there for Charlton characters? We've got Blue Beetle, of course. That's like kind of probably the biggest or best known Charlton character. Captain Atom. Captain Atom was big. Oh, there was a female superhero that I'm not remembering. It's eluding me all of a sudden. Well, the way to think about it would be to think of the characters from Watchmen and then like try to remember who they're each based on, right? Like the Owl is Blue Beetle. Rorschach is the Question. Dr. Manhattan is Captain Atom. Comedian is Peacemaker. Who else was there? There was Silk Spectre. She was based on someone. I can't remember. Nightshade? Yeah, there was Nightshade too. Yeah, maybe there's some milestone stuff in there at the exhibit. I live in Syracuse, New York. That's tempting to go to. I'd look it up online. The Schomburg Center in Harlem. Sounds like it would be an interesting exhibit to anyone that likes comics. Nightshade in the Question. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, yeah. Like that. Let's see. I'll go to the next topic because that was kind of a quick one. Peter Cannon Thunderbolt. That definitely was also a Charlton character. I don't think I don't think Alan Moore used that, did he really? No. Didn't Captain Atom become the Anti-Monitor? Did he? I remember they were going to like turn Captain Atom. I'm going to zoom out just a little because I feel like I'm just cropping off the head too much in this. There was an event called Armageddon where they were going to have the big bad revealed to be Captain Atom, and at the last minute it got like sort of leaked that was going to happen. So they did a last minute change to say that it was actually Hawk from Hawk and Dove, which made no sense. Like just like a street level beat 'em up guy became this cosmic enemy. Doesn't make any sense. Armageddon. If you're ever curious what a bad event comic looks like, yeah, I mean, DC's had some stinkers. Oh, Peter Cannon was Ozymandias. Got it. Yep. Couple people pointed out. Yep. Good point. What program did you use to letter the comic I worked on? Primarily Adobe Illustrator. Andrew Jefferson with a super chat. You ever see the early James Gunn film, The Specials? I have. About the 5th or 6th greatest superhero team on their day off. I have. It's pretty funny. Super low budget, but like it was more about like a day off for like the fifth or sixth best superhero team, which was just like a bunch of sort of losers. James Gunn plays a guy who could shrink, who is called Minute Man, but everyone thought that it was pronounced Minute Man. They were like, I don't get it. Why would you be called Minute Man if you can shrink? He was Minute Man. And a cameo by his then wife, Jenna Fisher, throwing like a bottle of soda or something at him. Let's see. Jamie Kennedy was in it as like some superhero. Sean Gunn was in it. Sean Gunn, who's gone on to play like characters like what's his name? Kriegler or something like that. One of the Ravagers in Guardians of the Galaxy. And behind the scenes, he plays Groot and Rocket, standing in before the special effects. Captain Atom was Monarch. Did they eventually say that he was Monarch? I thought that they may have eventually like fixed it because that's all that makes sense. But I remember at the time that Armageddon came out, they said that they revealed the whole hook was Monarch was this big cosmic villain who came back from the future, and in the past they just know that he used to be a superhero. And it was the thing that made sense was Captain Atom. Everything in the story led to that making sense. But people followed the clues, figured it out, and so they made it Hawk. It was terrible. Steve with a second super chat saying, top 5 comic events and not so top 5 cosmic events. All right, let me pause real quick here. His brother insisted on eating a whole stick of butter for the movie. Yeah, The Specials is a pretty funny movie. It also has, what's his name? The guy that played Sandman in the most recent Spider-Man. Thomas Hayden Church. He's the leader of the team in that. Paget Brewster's in it. It's a good cast. It's like a surprisingly strong cast, and it's pretty funny. It's modest. It's not like lots of superhero action or anything. Top 5 comic events. I got a super chat, so I got to pause and like give this some thought. Some of them will be things that I just really liked as a kid. Like, let me think. Well, Secret Wars. Definitely Secret Wars is one of the best that I liked. I liked the original X-Men Inferno. And before that, excuse me. You know what? I'll put also Fall of the Mutants. Fall of the Mutants was awesome. Crisis on Infinite Earths. Put that in there. The Valiant Unity event was also really good. Is that 4? That is 5 actually right there. Not so great events. As a kid, I liked it, but as an adult, it like seemed kind of dumber. Acts of Vengeance. All the supervillains just decided to team up, but attack each other's enemies with thinking that they could beat people that like their normal foe couldn't. Which it was fun to see them go up against other people, but you know it just ended up in the villains like constantly losing against new heroes. It was weird. Other events that weren't so great, DC's things like, I didn't think Final Crisis was too good. I definitely didn't care for, I'm trying to remember, Identity Crisis. Oh, that was so dark, overly dark, not necessary. Secret Wars 2 was a terrible flop follow-up to Secret Wars. Secret Wars is great, Secret Wars 2 is terrible. Maybe Deathmate, which I think was the Valiant universe and the Image universe having a crossover. It was kind of a mess. So I think I listed 5. Final Night is one of your favorite events? Yeah, the sun going out. Yep, that was cool. Event comics. Nothing will ever be the same. That's what they always tell us. And then things are usually kind of the same after a little while. Oh well. But yeah, if you have HBO Max, definitely recommend checking out Peacemaker. I think that show's been a blast so far. Have you ever read any comics from Von Bode? That's a good question. Have I? Let me think for 2 seconds, because I know who it is, and I've looked him up, but I don't think I've actually sat down and read any of his comics before, now that you mention it. No, I can't think of anything I read that I'm really super familiar with. Yeah, I had to think about it, though, for a minute. Read a lot of comics, so sometimes you have to pause and think. Read a lot of comics, and for some reason, a lot of comics knowledge just bangs around uselessly up in my skull, taking up valuable real estate that could be used for, I don't know, doing my taxes or something. Cheech Wizard. Yeah, I never read it. I'm aware of it. Haven't read it. The Bees thing was Amazon's Attack. Atlantis Attacks was as bad, only not funny. You know, as a kid, I liked stuff like the Evolutionary War, but it was because it was brand new to me. So it was like my first time getting exposed to like all sorts of stuff crossing over. In retrospect, it's kind of average. All right, let's see what else I got for topics. Yeah, Peacemaker's intro's hilarious. Oh, speaking of the Justice League, and I think it was Andrew Jefferson brought this up earlier, but boy, this gives me big flashbacks to 90s event excess. But apparently DC Comics is killing off the Justice League of America. Yeah, in April, they're having issue 75 be this event where the Justice League goes off into space to fight some sort of alien threat, and 9 out of the 10 league members, the main league members, are all going to die. So Earth won't have its mightiest superheroes to defend it. I think, or I suspect it's so that, first of all, eventually they will come back, in my opinion, and, that'll give sales a big boost. But in the meantime, it's an excuse to give the spotlight to all the sort of supporting characters and sidekicks and let some legacy characters take the spotlight for a little while. So the 9 out of 10 superheroes that they're killing off, they've announced this. Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, the Jon Stewart Green Lantern, Aquaman, Zatanna, Green Arrow, Black Canary, Martian Manhunter, and Hawkgirl. They're going to kill them all off. They'll get better, trust me. But, wow, that is a lot to... that's a lot. The idea of taking away Earth's preeminent superhero team all at once, I have to admit they haven't really done that on any sort of a big scale. Like, that could make for some interesting stories. It definitely screams editorial mandate to me, but you never know. Maybe they'll do something good with it. So you got that coming up. Probably won't be something that I pick up, to be completely honest. Event comics generally don't interest me at this point. I really just don't want to have to pick up a bunch of comics right now. Yeah, I tend to there are still superhero things that I enjoy. I think you can tell interesting stories with some of these superheroes. And I love the interconnected universe of both DC and Marvel. I think it's a lot of fun to play with. But I don't want to have to read all of it to make sense of a story. DC only releases Batman comics nowadays. I was talking with the local comic shop that I shop at with the owner a week ago or something, and I was saying I go, is it me or is DC releasing a lot of Batman books? And he's like, it's so many, and he's like, it's such a double-edged sword as a store, because you got to order what people want to buy, and some of them are good, but it makes it so hard for new readers to like sort of get a grasp on where to jump in. I was like, yeah, that's what it seems like it would be. You know, that just seems like a lot to keep up with. You know, there has to be a point, right? At some point where, okay, so Batman sells well. So you make a second title. Cool. You make a third title and it sells well. Cool. But there has to be some point, I don't know where it is, but there has to be some point where there are so many of the same thing that now the sales start to decline on what's already there as it just sort of cannibalizes itself and confuses people. Have you found yourself to be more of a fan of linear storytelling or episodic storytelling? I wouldn't necessarily say I'm a fan of either. I'm a fan in good execution. I find myself sometimes missing episodic storytelling where you can read one short story or watch an episode of a show and get a complete story in one. I do think that takes a certain skill set to be able to competently invest people in what amounts to a shorter story. I think everything has become built for, you know, like the trade for comics, or built for like ongoing serialized storytelling in TV shows. And that can be good, it can be exciting, but too much of the same thing burns me out. So overall, I wouldn't say that I prefer one over the other so much as I like good execution and I prefer variety. I hope that makes sense. I think I only had one more news item. Oh, and I remember what it is now. This one I was excited about. This just got announced today. This year, the Small Press Expo that takes place in Bethesda, Maryland in September. It will happen this year. It's going to be an in-person event, at least as of right now. Obviously, we all know that these things can change last minute in this day and age. But that is my personal favorite convention. The Small Press Expo usually goes by the term SPX. Love it. Love that convention because it's modestly sized. It's not anywhere near the size of, you know, the New York Comic Con, San Diego, Chicago. It's not Dragon Con. It's not the Baltimore Comic Con. It's none of those things, okay? It's you know, a Marriott hotel mezzanine, and then some of their ballrooms for like panels and stuff. It's not a 3-day event or anything like that. It's not a 4-day event. It's none of those things. What it is passionate creators, and it's got lots of self-published stuff. It's got lots of indie and small press publishers. You're going to see guys like Top Shelf, Fantagraphics, Drawn and Quarterly, Oni. They're going to be there. You're not going to see, generally, you're not going to see Marvel and DC. You're not going to see Image. You're not going to see Dark Horse. But because of that smallness, first of all, there's so much passion on display among the people that show up. So much passion. And it's basically just Artist Alley. It's the whole convention is like a really classy Artist Alley. And it isn't just, I think, first come, first serve for getting table space. Like, they want to make sure that it isn't just all people doing, say, superhero books. They want to make sure that there's a mix of stuff. You're going to find some really funny books there. You're going to find some amazing true stories, biographies, crime. You're going to find a real mix of stories, sci-fi, fantasy. You're going to see a mix of things there. And you have to, because it isn't that big, you have to go from table to table, look that creator in the eye, and engage them. You can't just sort of do the thing where you sort of just blow past. You just can't. And it forces you to talk to those people. And you have to sometimes say, like, well, you know, good luck. That's not for me. You have to say that a lot. But you're going to have some interesting conversations about storytelling and about comics. And you're going to meet some interesting people. You know, I met like Harvey Pekar and Ed Piskor and Brian Lee O'Malley and Frank Woodring, Charles Burns. Oh my God, I feel terrible about this. I'm forgetting the name of the representative who wrote March. You know, huge activist in the 60s for black rights and oh Jesus. Well, I hate myself for forgetting names, but I've always been terrible at names. Got to meet him. Met some amazing creators, in other words, that you'd never get the time to talk to at like a big convention or anything. So really cool. Really cool. And there's a big part of me that's currently considering going, like traveling to the DC area and seeing that event, because I've got a lot of friends there. I used to live in that area. And I've got a lot of friends, and I really love that convention, and it would be exciting to go back. So anyway, it's currently announced. I want to say that it's September, something like 17th or 18th, whatever the weekend there is. John Lewis, thank you. Got to meet John Lewis. Terrible at names, folks. Just was a... who else have I met there? Frank Miller, Paul Pope. You know, and you don't just like... It's not just like a meet and greet, like, hey, take a photo with a celebrity. They'll be at a table or host a panel, and then they will talk to you afterwards because they're there. It's a one-on-one closeness. Like, I look back and I'm like, I am really grateful that I got to have, even if it was brief for some of these people, conversations with John Lewis, Harvey Pekar, Frank Miller. To me, that's really huge. The first year that I went, there was a panel that was going to be Frank Miller, Will Eisner, and Paul Pope, as in, like, they sort of were each representing a different generation. The last minute, Will Eisner was feeling kind of sick, so he didn't make it. And he did pass away, like, shortly after that. And it hurts that I didn't get to meet him. But anyway, what was Frank Miller doing there? Well, just talking about it. Yeah, they were just... the Hernandez brothers, Jaime and Gilbert, they're interesting folks. Glad I got to talk to. Who am I thinking of? Like a cartoonist that I really like. Kate Beaton. She was interesting to speak with. She's hilarious. God, just what a great convention, folks. Like, where if you go, you will have that opportunity. If you're patient and you just sort of go table to table, you're going to get to talk to anybody that's there. You're going to have that opportunity. It's not going to be blocked because there's time and space. It's good. It's really good. There are other good small press expos that I haven't personally been to that are probably very similar. Space, Ape, Mice, those are all small press conventions that I've heard really great things about. I haven't been to those, but I've been to many SPXs, and boy, is it a great convention. Because you're gonna end up getting some stuff that you didn't expect to get, and not all of it will be fantastic, but some of it definitely will. Farrell Dalrymple, he was an interesting guy to talk to. All sorts of amazing people. How are you, Chris, and how has work been? I heard a friend of mine's brother is co-writing the Steve Rogers Cap relaunch a few days ago. Well, that's cool. Yeah, this is cool news. Captain America is going to have two titles. One where Steve Rogers is the protagonist, and one where Sam Wilson, formerly the Falcon, is Cap. And they're both sharing the mantle at this point. Why not? We've got Miles Morales and Peter Parker. We're going to have Sam Wilson and Steve Rogers. And it's sort of like, yeah, why not? You know, there's plenty of people that share the same name. They're clearly different people. I like it. I think it's cool. So that was also announced this week. What have you guys been listening to for music lately? Have you discovered anything new that's good that I should be listening to? I have the hardest time discovering good new music, especially these days. Where is my tiny... there it is. All right, let's see. Some good news is that Ghost Rider is officially getting an Epic Collection print in May. I like Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider, though, is funny. If you go back and read, like, the original run in the comics, like, it's so clear that they were making it all up as they went along, as in they didn't know exactly where it was going. Like, each issue has, like, the devil, like, looking like a different character by, like, a different artist. They just, like, had no clear plan on what the villain would look like, or... It wasn't Mephisto, it was like literally Satan, and they just didn't know how to represent him yet. Or what to call him, even. It's kind of funny. Treading water. Let's see. I remember Ghost Rider being really popular in the 90s. He was, you know, when they came up with the second Ghost Rider, Danny Ketch, like, that was pretty popular for a while. I remember reading that at the time. I thought it was cool. To me, for a long time, that was my Ghost Rider, was Danny Ketch. And then they brought in, they brought back Johnny Blaze, and it definitely became about him more and more, and that's fine. 90s Marvel was a weird time, man. They just couldn't launch enough titles, it seemed. Where would you guys like to travel right now if it was, you know, safe and easy and affordable to travel wherever? Like, where would you like to go? Give me some ideas. So that once we're at a place where we can all travel again, like, I know what I want to do. Because I love traveling. I want some ideas. Let's see. I remember hearing that they were supposed to introduce Jesus Christ into Marvel canon in one of those early Ghost Rider stories, but it would have ruined some of Marvel's lore. Semi-accurate. They created a guy called the Friend who looks like Jesus and was going to be revealed to be Jesus. I want to say that was Steve Englehart writing that. And at the last minute, I believe it was Jim Shooter, but either way, it was the editorial was like, no, we're not introducing flat out Jesus, like, because some people aren't religious. We don't want to, like, explicitly say that, like, Jesus is in our comics. Japan or Australia, Italy, definitely Japan, Japan or Italy, India, all right, Japan, Australia, UK or Sweden, Japan or Patagonia, Australia, a small Mediterranean island sounds amazing right now. Disney World, yep. That's funny how many of us want to go to Japan. Like, I really miss it these days. I really miss it. As soon as it's allowed, and, you know, make sure that we feel safe with the idea and everything. But, like, yeah, Chrissy and I definitely want to get back there. I'll be honest. I'd even consider, like, staying there at this point. Like, if I could do YouTube full time, I would consider doing comic tropes from there and just also do, like, you know, travel vlogs and stuff of, like, you know, eating at restaurants and going around to different museums and stuff. I don't know. I would strongly consider that at this point. We shall see. Tony Isabella wrote it. Thank you for the correction. Tony Isabella, that is right. That is right. Not Englehart. I'm thankful that cartoonist kayfabe spotlight the more unique and interesting books during the 90s. I Told Tales of Spider-Man is one I want to pick up now. Yep. Other ideas. Japan, South Korea. I'd love to go to Japan too. One of the Koreas. One of the Koreas. Here, let me strongly suggest South. I was about to buy tickets to San Francisco last month before Omicron gave me cold feet. Chrissy and I had got tickets to see my family in Massachusetts next month, but we canceled them too because we just like, you know what? Like, we can wait. We can wait. Just didn't feel like the right time. But it is a bummer. I really wanted to go and see my family. Oh well. Be patient. You do an excellent job. Thank you. Are the Spider-Gwen Ghost Spider comics any good? I would say the original ones, and, you know, the creators become a little problematic, but I think that the original Jason Latour ones were very good, yeah. I haven't read any of the recent ones, so I don't know. That is a good question. Good questions. Is there anything you're hoping to see in the Moon Knight show? Yeah, honestly, it would be Mr. Knight. I think that that's a really cool personality, this detective that wears the white suit. I think that, like, I would really, really like to see that. I think I would probably also like to see him meet a werewolf, considering his origins. Moon Knight originally showed up in the title Werewolf by Night, hunting him, although he quickly found out that Werewolf by Night was a good guy, and so he wasn't like an ongoing villain. But originally he was like sent to hunt down Werewolf by Night, and I think that that would be interesting to see a mention that, like, werewolves exist. It's a pretty important part to his origin. And could make him, like, somebody that could, like, show up maybe and say, like, Blade or something like that. That would be interesting. Let me use my kneaded eraser to clean this up a little because it's starting to look kind of weird. I dropped Spider-Gwen after the second relaunch ended. Are you going to make the end of the Jack wrap around into the cape? The end of the Jack? I don't quite know the Jack. Sorry. Moon Knight, who is in no way connected to the wanted criminal known as Moon Knight. I was today years old when I found out E.T.'s species were in Star Wars Phantom Menace. That's my sister. Yes, they did throw E.T.'s species into the deep background of the first Star Wars prequel. They are in that meeting assembly with Queen Amidala and friends. You have to know where to look, though, because it's not like they have, like, a close-up shot of them or anything, but yeah. Oh, jacket. No, I'm just sort of having it like, be just half and half. I don't know. Just sort of show. Like, ideally, if I showed just this, you're seeing him in his shamanic armor and such. Whereas over here, you're seeing him, like, walk down the street as a detective. Werewolf by Night is getting a Disney Plus special. Oh, really? I didn't hear about that. I wouldn't be surprised, I guess, but I didn't hear about that. Gene, why are you reading up on E.T. trivia today? I wouldn't have expected it. That's all. I wish I could travel or just do something different. I'm just definitely feeling kind of like cooped up, and I don't know. I don't know exactly what it is I'd want to do that's so special or anything. Anyway, I want to get out there. Have I ever read Shaolin Cowboy? Absolutely. And you know what? There's a creator that I could do a really fun episode about, Jeff Darrow. Pretty heavily influenced, in my opinion, by like European comic books, the open line work of guys like Mobius and Erge. Yeah, that could be interesting. I think it just came up on my feed and I looked to see if it was true. It's true. I think I need to do more episodes about artists. I've done a lot about writers and about comics history, but there's so many artists that I do want to talk about that are interesting. Barry Windsor Smith, Jeff Darrow, who are some others that have been on my mind lately. I'm blanking because I had a list of like about 5 artists that I wanted to discuss. Bill Sienkiewicz. Yeah. I also want to do an episode about what the so-called Filipino invasion, which was a good thing. There was the British invasion of guys like Grant Morrison and Alan Moore and Ennis and Ellis and all that. There was a invasion in the 70s of a ton of great artists from the Philippines. I think that would be interesting to discuss. And I've never really done an episode about inkers, so maybe like somebody like Klaus Janson would be a good topic. I might be mispronouncing some of these names, by the way. I haven't checked on it yet. These are just creators that I've like read their credits, and I'm like, I want to talk about them and what makes them so unique. But it's possible I'm not saying their names right. I'll put that disclaimer out there, and boom, I'm protected. By the way, folks, I know my videos have been blurry lately. I sincerely believe that the next one is going to be correct. Because I literally had gotten it correct this latest one. Had to get like a new lens, got it, had to figure out how to use it, finally figured it out this past week, and then for the first time ever, and I knew this would happen to me someday making comic tropes. I knew it would happen. It happened this week. I forgot to turn the microphone on, so I recorded the entire episode only to realize everything I'd recorded was completely unusable, because there was no audio. None. I sat there for like 45 minutes recording, and there was no audio, so had to start over. And when you know it, when I went to I corrected the audio, I got the camera settings wrong this time. And I was like, you know what? I'm sorry. I've recorded it twice. I just don't have time to record it a third time. And you know, there's a pressure to just get the material out. And I wish that there wasn't, but there really is. Or, you know, it's literally better for your channel to get something out on time and have some issues, as compared to if you don't put anything out, all of a sudden YouTube stops recommending you to new people and your views plummet. They just plummet. It's so painful. They really disincentivize taking a break with YouTube. They really disincentivize it. Which is terrible, because you need your mental health. But it is a grind sometimes, and I'm okay with that. It's still work that I enjoy, but they don't make it easy to take a break or anything like that. And when you're just doing it by yourself, it really is tricky to... you can't see what you're doing in the moment. You can only see it after you finish. And then, you know, I try to fix it as much as I can in editing. But these things happen is all I can say. It's rough. It's tough. It's rough. It's tough. That's my new single, by the way. It's rough. It's tough. With the Bing Bang Boys is my backup. We're gonna release It's Rough, It's Tough, and that's coming out. That drops in April. It's rough, it's tough. Oh, it's rough, it's tough. Can you handle the stuff? It's rough, it's tough. Hey, when you're making a video on YouTube, you gotta be careful. You know it, dude. Hey, Chris. Yeah, man. How's it going? Not too bad. Let's rap about tubing. I'm grooving. Okay, I'm done. That's worth a super chat, right? That's me as my own entire boy band, the Chris boy band. Michael with the super chat. I just got the Lev Gleason bio, American Daredevil. I don't know about that, but I'll keep that in mind. Moonshadow I'm aware of, but I haven't read it. The Bing Bang Boys. Yo, it's the Bing Bang Boys. It's rough. It's tough. You know that stuff. You ever try to draw a thing? Well, what do you know? I'm gonna make it sing. We're gonna throw down some nice ink lines. And then later on, we'll make a vine. Just kidding. It's time for ticking and talking, and then mecking on some ladies, and watching the clocking. I don't know. No, Chris, no. Okay. YouTube algorithm DCMA. We've got some angry faces. I've definitely sunk myself. Now let's hear It's Tricky. This speech is my recital. I think it's very vital to rock a rhyme that's right on time. It's tricky. Here we go. And that's all I can do. Otherwise, DCMA, this video ain't getting monetized. That's all I can do. I love old school hip hop and rap. That was my jam growing up. That was my jam. My sister can tell you. She would always steal my Salt and Pepper CDs. She really liked Salt and Pepper. And I didn't notice because I didn't listen to it as much. So it's probably okay that she was stealing it or taking it without asking. We'll say that because that's nicer. Because I'm not mad about it. We'll leave it at that. Whoa, some super chats for my singing. Caveman, it is now saved forever. Oh, I knew it would be. Andrew, that was something. My sister has face palmed, so has Jamillan. Love it. You're the only one, apparently. I obviously did not know where any of that was going when I was singing. That was some bad singing. What can I say? What can I say? That's going to be my new catchphrase. Hey, Chris, did you notice that your video was blurry this week? What can I say? Chris, you disrespected John Byrne when you said that you didn't like his work as much today as you did when you were younger. That implies that he's old. What can I say? That's my new catchphrase. I'll just expect to be problematic at this point and to piss people off. Hey, that's my brand, man. You can't deal with the fire? Get out of the kitchen. The comics kitchen. Hi, welcome to the comics kitchen. Whoa, Marvin Nation. Here we go. Please don't do it again. I could be persuaded not to sing again. I could be persuaded not to do that. How's my blood sugar? My blood sugar is good. Oh, do you think that I was getting lightheaded and that's what led me to lose my mind? No, this is just the real Chris. I'm a very silly person. Some would say the silliest. You can ask my sister. She's in the chat. She'll confirm that I'm very, very annoying. She would say annoying. My fiance, if she was in it, would not say that. She'd have my back. Chrissy would have my back. Where's Chrissy when I need her? You guys seriously make this show worth doing, this weekly show, because I'm just doodling here, but it's fun to chat with all of you, talk about news of the week, just go in some weird directions. I always watch you on my boyfriend's account, but I logged on just to tell you I love your streams and you made me laugh. Thank you. Thank you, indeed. Maybe at some point when the inspiration hits me, I'll give you the full song of It's Rough, It's Tough. Yo, it's rough, but it's also kind of tough. Michael DeFonte, going to order cereal from your new sponsor. I've already been paid and everything, so I don't need to shill for them per se. But I chose Magic Spoon as a sponsor sincerely because I personally do like it. And it's something I can sort of have as a bit of a treat that is not really bad for me. It is not going to taste the exact same as, say, Fruity Pebbles or something like that, because it is made without sugar. It's made with, like, allulose, for instance. But in my opinion, it tastes very, very similar. Very, very similar. I don't think there's a weird aftertaste or anything. I think it tastes good, and the nutrition is better for you. So personally, when they approached me as a sponsor, I was like, this one, yes, no hesitation from me. I won't do another one for Raid, I don't think. Whatever, I did it. It's a free game. I don't think it's bad. I don't think I'll do that again. There's other places I would consider. But Magic Spoon I was legit into because I think it tastes good. The health benefits are good. Is it pricey? It is pricier than your average cereal. But it's because you're getting something out of it. You're having sort of the fun of a cereal, or as close as you can get while it's still sort of relatively healthy. That's worth something to me. To me specifically. I'm diabetic. I literally I could not have a bowl of Captain Crunch or something like that. I just can't do it. Like, that would be bad for me. Could I do it? Yeah, of course I could do it. I do it before I starve to death, and I'd enjoy it. But it would be bad for me, so I'm not going to do it. Magic Spoon is a really great alternative. Anyway, you've heard me talk about it enough. But just explaining to you why I took that sponsor. I was excited to, because it made sense to me. I was like, this is one that makes sense. I hope some of you like it, and I hope you think it's good. Yeah. If you use my discount code of magicspoon.com/comic tropes, you can get $5 off your order. I think that's pretty good. I wish I could get my girlfriend to try and read one. Read one? Oh, hi there. Looks like you caught me rapping and getting funky. I assume health foods are made with black magic. They have ice cream without milk or sugar. What is it then? I don't know, but Andrew, I honestly don't know what that is because I'm also kind of lactose intolerant. So if I could find an ice cream substitute that did not have sugar or dairy, I'd be all over giving that a shot. That would be huge for me. I didn't know that there was such a thing. You were the only person I saw that ate the damn cereal and showed it. Oh, really? Yeah, no, I sincerely eat it. What music do you like? Well, you know, rock, and also now that I think of it, a lot of pop music that like I loved alternative stuff in the '90s. You know, and I have to admit, like I grew up like loving rap and hip hop, like Beastie Boys, Run DMC. I mean, never. I could go down a huge rabbit hole just listing off bands from like basically the '90s and stuff like that. That was kind of my era. I try to stay up to date listening to stuff on like Spotify and stuff. I'm not great at always remembering it until I hear it a lot or have it like sort of reinforced. Like, oh, this is like a current band or something. You know, like if you asked me, like, you know, look at the bands on Coachella. You know, there's like 60 bands. How many of them do you know? Probably like 12 or 13. Like, not many, right? Like, I'll know the headliners. I'll be like, okay, I know who Billie Eilish is. I know who Kanye West is. But there's not many others. I know Run the Jewels. But my knowledge gets very shallow the closer we get to today. And that's why I always sort of am curious what, like, you know, good music people have to recommend. You can probably find non-dairy ice cream in more organic food stores. You know, I never go to organic food stores. Maybe I should at some point. I know it would cost a little something, but that would be a treat. You thought my cereal commercial was funny? Thank you, Daniel. That's really nice of you. You say 90s, baby, Mandela. To be honest, though, like a lot of the music that I like, now that I'm really thinking about it, I love 80s stuff, especially like new wave. I love a lot of new wave. Did Weezer make an album after 2001? HelloFresh might be another potential sponsor. HelloFresh would be something I would also consider, like, you know, one of those meal at home places. If they've got good reviews and stuff, I would consider accepting them if one of those places approached me. I would consider it strongly. I've turned just we're talking about this. I'll tell you guys, and I think I've mentioned it on some of these live streams before. I've been getting offers for sponsors for years at this point, like at least 2 years. I've been getting offers, and I've always turned them down, obviously. Now I'm trying to do this as a career, so I kind of need to like take the additional income if it's being offered. But I'm also going to do my best effort to not take a sponsorship from something I think is outright bad or dangerous or something. Okay, so I do look them up. I look up reviews. You know, some people didn't like that I did Raid. All I can say is at the end of the day, that is a free app. You know, you don't have to like, you don't have to pay money to it or anything like that. I played it some. It's a decent game. The graphics on it are gorgeous. I will say that, like, for sure. The graphics are gorgeous. In terms of things that I've turned down, though, God, you know, iPhone cases, pants, blankets, hair loss formula, anti-acne medications, various VPNs that like are from people you don't know. I think you'd love the band Japanese Breakfast. I could probably recommend that. Have you listened to any new tracks from The Weeknd? I do like The Weeknd, actually. I don't know if it's okay to even say that, but like I love that song, Blinded by the Light, which at this point is like what, like a year and a half, 2 years old or something, but I do like that song a lot. I found myself singing that sometimes. I used to never just sing to myself. Oh, hold on. Caveman says, Raid Shadow Legends is a rite of passage sponsor. Well, they definitely sponsor a lot of shows, don't they? They do. Japanese Breakfast is great. I'm about to finish her memoir. Okay, Japanese breakfast. Okay. Someone already said that doing an ad for a raid is a rite of passage. Fair. Fair. I don't see that as a harmful thing to promote that game. You know, people don't like it because it's advertised so much. They don't like all the ads. I get it, but I don't think it's the worst thing. I really don't. If Midtown Comics hit you up for a sponsorship, would you take it? I can't think of why I wouldn't take that. I've shopped at Midtown every single time I visited New York, so I think it's a pretty good comic book store. It's big. They've got a lot to offer. If a comic book store, like in general, like approached me, I can't think of why I wouldn't say no to a comic book store. And, you know, obviously lots of people want to advertise their Kickstarter or independent comic. But here's sort of how it works. I'll go behind the scenes just a tiny bit here. If you take a sponsorship, a paid sponsorship, you have to declare that when you're uploading the video. If you declare that, certain things won't be advertised on your channel. So you could take a bit of a pay hit from what you normally get from YouTube ads. And if you're doing a sponsored read, I think that that's worth more than just like a traditional ad click. So I think you should be charging more than you usually get. So with all that in mind, what was the question again? Oh yeah, no, I was saying that like some people want to like advertise their comic, and I'll say, it's this price. And then they're like, oh my God, that's astronomical. I'm like, well, I don't know that it is, but I understand that it could seem like a lot to you, but that's literally what it's worth. You know, like I would be, if I charged less and then like couldn't get as many ads from YouTube, I'd be taking the hit. I'd be paying thousands of dollars to advertise your comic. And to me, I'm sorry, but that I'm not going to do that especially if I don't know you. Now, if I do know you and I might just plug it, that's not the same as a paid sponsorship. But yeah, so I do get asked quite a lot, you know, if I would advertise a Kickstarter, and it pretty much has never made financial sense for anyone to do that. And I'm sorry that it's not that easy. But it's like, you know, you also can't go to, say, like Time Magazine and be like, what? This costs more? This costs, you know, several $1,000s to advertise? It's like, yeah, I mean, I've built a value to this, and I don't know your book, so yeah. Get asked that like every day, pretty much. I don't want to discourage people from making their own comics. So I'm trying to think of like, okay, so if I have to say no to advertising people's comics, how could I instead possibly give a little something back to the people out there that want to make their own comics? Because I would like to support that. So I do have a plan for that. I have been setting aside money, and I'm trying to come up with the rules of how I would do this. But my plan is to put money aside for essentially a grant to self-publish your own comic. You know, a certain amount of money. I don't know exactly what that would be. I need to do some more research, but I'm starting to put money aside so that I could have essentially a type of a contest, and, you know, maybe like once a year somebody could win some grant money to self-publish their comic and get it out at, you know, conventions and online and stuff like that. That's something I would very much like to do. I don't know how I'm going to work out the rules and exactly how much I can afford to give for that, but that is something I'm actively researching right now to think of how I could do that so that people out there could potentially have a shot at, you know, getting their book out and seen, and give them at least a little bit of a bump. I don't know if it would be huge or but to somebody it probably would be. So anyway, just letting you know that's something I'm giving some thought to and working on. Chris has promoted the Loxor graphic novel that I wrote many times. Yeah, and you know, like if I know the book, that's very different from doing like, you know, a plug for something that I know and recommend, as compared to a paid sponsorship. But I'm not just going to plug every book that I get asked to do, or all of a sudden the show would be this annoying like deluge of plugs for everything that's on Kickstarter. Like that wouldn't be entertaining to you, and it therefore defeats all the value in mentioning something on my show. So it's tough though, you know. I want to help people. I know that making a comic isn't easy. I've done every aspect of, you know, comics. I've written them, I've illustrated, I've inked, I've colored, I've lettered, I've dealt with printers, I've self-printed, I've dealt with, you know, like every aspect of it, every aspect, and none of it is easy. I would never say any of it is easy. So I want to respect that, and if there's something I can do with my channel because I am getting some income from it, I am setting some aside that I can give back. And there's a part of me that's almost surprised no one else has done this yet, and now that I've mentioned it, maybe somebody's going to be able to beat me to the idea, which would kind of bum me out, but it's always been, I've always wanted to do something with the channel that helps, you know, the sort of indie level people, because I like all sorts of comics. I think if you watch my channel, you can tell that, you know, I'm sometimes I'll talk about foreign comics or old comics or indie comics. It's not just all Spider-Man or something. And I like Spider-Man and Batman and all that too. But anyway, yeah, just letting you know, that's something I'm working on, coming up with how I'd come up with the rules and exactly how much money would be a good amount to give someone so that they could actually produce, you know, their book on some sort of a reasonable level without having to like worry about necessarily a Kickstarter or anything like that. I think that would be really nice if I could figure this out, and I think I will be able to, and hopefully sooner than later. I also would love to do something on, like, we'll call it like a micro Mr. Beast, but what I'd love to do is have a small shopping spree at a comic book store. I'd love to be able to give that away as a prize as well, and with like the caveat that I get to like record it, and there would be limits. You know, I don't know exactly how much money it would be. You know, maybe it's only $1,000 in, you know, 10 minutes. Maybe I can get a little bit more money than that, but you know, it would be like a short shopping spree, and you just get to like run through the comic book store, and like anything that you can hold within that time period that I come up with, I have to buy you. I think that would be fun, right? I don't know. I think that would be fun. You know what? I was going to like have this sort of like feather, but now I think I'm just going to like shade the entire inner side of the cape, because I think it'll provide a better contrast to the character. So give me just a moment. I'm going to actually fill this all in. I just thought of that. So I'm trying to think of ways that I can, like, you know, yeah, you know, I'd like to make money and make a living, but I'd also like to potentially give back, and not everybody that watches is going to, you know, win, because I'm not ever going to be that rich that I can just give it back to everybody. But I could have two contests, you know, one for a grant to self-publish your own book, and one for if you don't feel like you have the creative talent, but you know, could still win a shopping spree at a comic store. So those are two things that I would like to set up that I could do on an ongoing, like, annual type of a basis. And I would probably host that here on this channel instead of the Comic Tropes channel, but I'd make it available to, like, you know, I'd mention it on both channels. So just some things that I'm thinking about, ways that I can hopefully give back at some point in the future to people that like watching this show and just like comics. You could set up a GoFundMe for the self-publishing grant. I guess I could. I'm not against that, but I'd also sort of love, I don't know, I think I can do this on my own. We'll see. It's not a bad idea. But then I almost feel like all I'm doing is, like, you know, what anybody could do is say, like, hey, let's raise a bunch of money together, everybody pitch in $1, and then one of you gets it, which is sort of more of a lottery, and I want to, like, have it as more of like a, I don't know the rules yet, I've said that, but I think what I do is get, like, a few people on a panel, like some industry professionals, and we would, like, we'd have like a curated group of people to like review the comics, and I might not even myself be on that, just to sort of like add a little bit of distance. Maybe just like, and I'd pay them like a nominal fee to like read the submissions. They could each vote on like, their first, second, third favorite, and like one person would win a grant to, and I keep calling it a grant, but I have to admit that may have like legal connotations that I'm not clear on. Maybe I'd have to just call it a prize. I don't know if there are like tax implications or anything like that. So this is what I mean when I say I still have to do some research and like figure out how this would truly work. But anyway, just letting you know that I'm thinking of trying to do some different things with the channel, and some things that hopefully would be fun and engaging. Like, hopefully, like, even if you didn't win, you'd want to like see somebody else go on a shopping spree, or you'd want to see somebody else get their comic book published and out there in the world. I feel like that would be pretty cool. And like, it would probably give me like some extra content too. Your freestyle rapping seemed to raise a decent amount of money. You know what I need to do is I should get something like some 90s comic book cards, right? And like, every time somebody donates $1, I just have to open it on camera and like show the cards, like, because that's like a tiny donation, but like I'd have to interrupt and show the cards. That would be kind of fun. Have I ever tried drawing digitally? I love drawing digitally. I love it. It's hard to do right now with my setup for this show, but someday I might do that. I've got tons of things that I've drawn digitally. And look at this, which I haven't really gotten a chance to use, but my fiance got me this, and I'd love to use it. She got me one of these cool digital drawing tablets, where you actually see on the tablet itself what you're drawing. Not just like, I wouldn't have to like look up at the screen. I could like look down here and just draw on the tablet. So some point I will try to get that set up here, so that like I could do digital drawing as well. I just tend to, when I'm doing digital drawing, I feel like I do a lot more corrections. I draw, and I also zoom way in, so there's way more detail. That's just how I do it. Like, I get really drawn in. Whereas this is sort of trying to just be more loose and fun. Let's see. You are still essential even if you don't crowdfund the grant, because 1, you have the platform to bring attention to it. 2, you have the industry experience and you have the industry friends. Well, that's fair. Thank you for that. Yeah, hopefully I could draw some attention to it. It's just something I'd like to do. It's just something I would like to do very, very much. Speaking of publishing, have you ever thought of publishing your own book? Yeah. When I got sicker, actually last year now, I gave some real strong thought to that what I really want to do was make my own comic. And I really thought that I was going to be able to carve out time in 2021 to write a full draft of that and hire an artist. But I was a lot busier last year with regular work and stuff than I expected to be. And so I've really only plotted it out. I've got a plotted out book, and I want to hire an artist and pitch it to some companies. And if they don't, then yeah, I'd self-publish it, because I'm sure that we could raise that with crowdfunding. But there is, in my opinion, still an advantage to using somebody like an Image or a Boom, or any of those guys, Dynamite, whoever would be kind enough to accept a pitch, because they can easily put the book in, say previews or whatever catalog it may need to be, and get those orders pretty quickly. So yeah. Good for distribution, easy. They've got that set up. I've got that same Huon. It's fantastic. Oh, cool. That's really nice to hear. I got to whack 'em for learning ZBrush. Chrissy has played around a little with ZBrush because she got herself a 3D printer, and she wants to, print some stuff with it that she designs in like something like ZBrush. So I encourage it. I'm like, that sounds awesome. My fiance is a really amazing painter. She's a great artist. She's been really busy with like work for a while, so she hasn't been painting as much, but her paintings have taken us to some great places. You know, she's had her artwork in DC, Seattle, Hong Kong, you know, various cities. Is it a crime book? It's not a crime book. The one that I'm writing first is a werewolf story, because I don't feel that there are very many good werewolf stories out there. There are a few. I don't think there are many good werewolf stories. I think I've got a really cool, simple werewolf story, like, that just works as a cool, exciting, and scary story. At least I think so. So yeah, my idea is to get that out. Well, I think that this drawing is basically done. Everything else I'd be doing would just be superficial, like sketching to sort of just add extra detail, which ultimately is kind of superfluous. Can look really nice, but it's not always necessary. So basically, I think that if you look at it, like, okay, you've got this half. You've got, like, you know, Mr. Knight walking down the street in a really nice suit. And then you've got this half, which is like sort of this shamanic armor that Moon Knight wears. But then just, like, you know, in a regular walking down the street pose. You should show more of her work on the stream sometime. Yeah, I'll ask her if she'd like me to do that. That would be fun. I haven't read the new She-Hulk book, Daniel. Does anybody recommend it? Just got here. Hope you're having a good day. Also loved the last vid you uploaded. Thank you. You know what? I am having a good day today. Last week when I was recording, I was still recovering. I got sick. And just for the record, I got COVID a second time. But I'll tell you something about it. Because I was vaccinated and boosted, it wasn't that bad. It really wasn't. I recovered within a week. And it never got too bad. It was basically just like having a stuffy nose, like a lot of congestion and a headache and stuff like that. But none of the body aches, the fatigue, the brain fog, like loss of taste or smell. When I got it the first time, I was in the hospital, you know, for like over a week. It was touch and go. It was really, really scary. I've talked about that a bit before. I was super careful, but I do work with the public. And I must have gotten it there. I got it like about 2 weeks before I was eligible to get my vaccine at the time. So I got it. And it turns out if you get it, you are actually more vulnerable. Like, you don't have an immunity. You have actually a susceptibility to the new Omicron variant. Frustrating. That's what I got the second time. But I got over it pretty quickly, fortunately. So all I can say is I strongly recommend getting your vaccination if you haven't, folks. It really makes a massive difference, and I can tell you that from experience now. The more art, the better. Thank you, Chris Sears, for the super chat. That's so generous of you. You guys are great. I love meeting you all every week. I love drawing. I love talking about the comics that I read, but the most fun part is definitely having the opportunity to chat with all of you. And let me just reiterate, for anyone that's maybe started to forget or came in late, this is my pick of the week. Cursed Pirate Girl, The Devil's Cave. If you can pick up the first 4 issues, do it. If you can't, there is a recap that will bring you up to speed. This thing is a work of art. It is pricey. It is worth it. I think you'll like the story. Even if you don't, there's no way anybody would not appreciate this amazing, intricate artwork. This is nothing that anyone could produce on a monthly schedule, so it comes out slower. It's going to stand the test of time, folks. This is going someday. I am 100% convinced, but when this is finished, it will get adapted into like a movie or TV show. And if they do it right, this could be a classic on the level of Wizard of Oz, Alice in Wonderland. It's that good. This is so amazing. I got the booster too, and I'm glad I did, because it definitely made a difference. I got it a second time, this time through family. I don't need to go into all that, but you know, somebody through their job got it, and it got to us even though we were all boosted. So yeah, you actually are still vulnerable even if you're vaxxed and boosted, but all I can say is If you are, it's not as bad, so it's worth it. It's worth it. Just ordered the first Cursed Pirate Girl book. Looking forward to it. Oh, I think you'll love it, James. I still need to get boosted. Make it a priority if you can. My recommendation, just because it really, really helped me. I was able to get back to work faster. I was obviously still able to do the show last week. Normally, I don't think I would. That was a little tough last week on Monday, but like by Tuesday, I was already feeling better. It was amazing. How is it that Moon Knight wasn't a character in Peter Porker? He wasn't? Are you sure? Because I also honestly thought that there was a Moon Knight for Peter Porker. I'm glad you're healthy now. I'm feeling good, folks. I'm feeling good. I'm going to go get some dinner. I'm going to work on the next Comic Tropes episode. Not telling you exactly what it is, but I did find a Golden Age weirdo, a Golden Age superhero that I think is just utterly bonkers. Those don't necessarily get the most views out of what I do, but the people that watch them always seem to love them. So like super high ratio of like likes and comments. I love doing them. I love finding that nutty stuff. I think that it'll be really fun and funny. Boy, did I find a weirdo this time. The only thing I can say is I don't think I'll ever find somebody as crazy as one of the first ones of those I did, which was 7-Eleven. The guy who voluntarily stays in jail so that he can get tips on like where crimes are going to be happening. He sneaks out of jail at night, stops criminals, and then he voluntarily goes back to jail by morning. What a terrible idea. What a terrible idea. So that's what's coming up next. I'm going to take off. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully the Moon Knight show is good. And I don't know, maybe this would have been cooler if I drew only Mr. Knight or only the Shamanic. I couldn't decide. So I did both. We'll just do that. Look at that. That looks kind of cool, right? I don't know. I'm going to take off, but you guys have made, and gals and all, have made my evening fantastic. I'm grateful. I'm going to end the stream now. It's ending. And I always do this slowly because my sister says that sometimes I cut myself off. So I'm just muttering for the last few minutes. Keep reading comics. Awesome.